Okay, so in front of you now you should have the gold sheet, and on it you'll see 3 problems that are very similar to what you're going to see on the quiz on Monday. So let's take a look at this here. We have it says the area of a picture frame including a 2-inch wide border is 99 square inches. If the width of the inner area is 2 inches more than its length, then find the dimensions of the inner area. So if I take a look at this, then it's talking first just about the inside here. And it gave us that the width of the inner area is 2 inches more than its length. So I don't know anything about the length, so I'm just going to assign that as x. So x is my length. It tells me that the width is 2 more than the length, so I know that this width is x plus 2. So let's move on then, now that we know those 2 dimensions, and look at what this 99 square inches is. That represents the area. In order to find the area, we have to do length times width. So what I am going to do then is figure out the length and the width of the entire shape. So the inside and then this border on the outside, because it says that area includes the 2-inch wide border. So my area is equal to 99. I know in order to find area I have to do length times width. So now when we find the length and the width, it's of the entire thing. So let's just look at the length, which is x. I know that this border over here on this side is 2 inches, and the border over here is 2 inches. So if I add up all of those, because we're finding that total length, I get x plus 2, which is x plus 4. All right, now let's find the overall width of this with the border. Again, on this side I have 2, and on this side I have the 2 inches. So to find this total width, I have to add them all up. So I have x plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is 6. Okay, so what I need to do from here is start to simplify. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to multiply this out. I get x squared plus 6x plus 4x plus 24 equals 99. And I can do 2 things here. I have some like terms that I can combine. So I have x squared plus 10x plus 24 equals 99. And then I need to get this equal to 0 so I can actually factor this out. That gives me negative 75 equals 0. So whether you use regrouping, whether you use the rectangle method, I'm going to allow you to do that on your own, and just for time's sake then I'm going to show what this actually would be factored out. So it would give me x minus 5 times x plus 15 equals 0. So I'm going to go then and set each part equal to 0 and solve for x. So I get x is equal to 5. And x is equal to negative 15. Okay, so we need to go back and be sure that this actually answers the questions. Well, x represents the dimension, so I cannot have a negative dimension, so we can't even use that. So what it wants to know is the dimensions of the inner area. So the one dimension is just x. And that would be 5 inches. And the other inner dimension is x plus 2. So that would be 5 plus 2, which is 7 inches. So my two dimensions here would be 5 inches and 7 inches. Now, for time's sake, I'm not going to go into the double checking of that. If Mr. Britz would like to pause this to do that, he can. Or if you would like to do that on your own, you can. But for time's sake, we're going to move on here. All right, so this next one is similar to the one that we went over in the first video. It's talking about two consecutive positive odd integers again. So the first integer, I'm just going to assign it x. The second integer, in order to get to the next odd number, so like if I go from 3 to 5, I have to add 2 to it. Okay? So we have our variables defined. Now let's go up here and actually look at what this is saying. So it's saying the product of these two. Well, product means that I'm going to be multiplying. So I'm going to multiply x times x plus 2 is equal to, well, obviously that means equal, 1 less than, which tells me I'm going to be subtracting 1, 7 times the sum of the integers. Sum means I'm going to be adding these now. So I'm going to have x, and I'm going to add that to x plus 2. So, if you need to, pause it, take a second, look at where all that came from, and then we're going to move on and simplify. So I distribute to get x squared plus 2x. In this parenthesis here, I can combine like terms to get 2x plus 2. I still have that minus 1. Again, on the right-hand side, I still have more simplifying. So that gives me 14x plus 14 minus 1. I have like terms here. So from this point, we cannot factor it. So like we've been doing, we need to get this equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 14x. And then I'll subtract 13. And it's equal to 0. So as far as factoring method, whether you like regrouping or you like the rectangle method, I'm just going to go and show you what it would be factored. So it would be x minus 13 times the quantity of x plus 1. So I need to set each part equal to 0 because we have our 0 product property. And when we do that, we get x is 13 and x is negative 1. So again, let's go back and look at what we needed. It said that we needed consecutive positive odd integers. Well, negative 1 obviously isn't positive, so we cannot use that. So x is 13 is our one that we can use. And then we need to figure out what both of them are. So let's go up here. X is equal to 13. X plus 2. That's 13 plus 2, which is 15. So our two numbers that we're looking for here are 13 and 15. Again, you can go back and double check that if you want, but for time's sake, I'm just going to move on to the next one, and it is the last one. So here we have two squares, and it's talking about the area of the two squares. The sum of the area of the two squares is 20. What is the length of each square? So first, before I can figure out the sum of them, I have to figure out what the area is. So to find the area, we do S times S. That is not 2S. That is S squared. So I know that my area here is S squared. This one again, I'm going to do side times side, which is 2s times 2s. So 2 times 2 would give me the 4. S times s is s squared. So the area of this square is 4s squared. So I've taken care of the area part. It went and it told me to find the sum of the areas. So the sum of the areas, sum means I'm going to be adding. So I have the area of the small one plus the area of the bigger one, and it told me that that sum is 20. So there's the is, which we know is equals, and that equals 20. On the left hand side here I have like terms, so I can add those. 1 plus 4 is 5. The like term part stays the same. Like we've been doing, we need to get this equal to 0. Alright, so this one's a little bit different than the two up above in that we don't have a trinomial. We only have two terms over here. So the first thing when you have your two terms is to look and see, is there a common factor or a greatest common factor? Which technically you should do that with all of them. So if I look, they're both divisible by 5. So I'm left with s squared minus 4 then. So this part of it here in the parentheses, we can factor that part out. Again, whether you do regrouping or you do the rectangle method, whichever method you use, you would end up with s plus 2 and s minus 2. So when I solve for s, I have 5 equals 0, which that's never going to happen, so technically we don't even have to worry about that. S plus 2 equals 0, s minus 2 equals 0. So I solve there, I get s equals negative 2. Solve here, I get s equals positive 2. Go back, what does s even represent? Well, it represents the side of a square. You can't have a negative side. So s equals 2 is the one that I'm going to use. Go back and look at the question. What is the length of each square? So this side length on the small one is just s. So I know s equals 4. And no unit of measurement is given. So I'm sorry, it's not 4, it is 2. So s equals 2, and that would be 2 units. The other side is 2s, so it would be 2 times 2, which is 4 units. So my two dimensions here are 2 units and 4 units. And again, you can plug those in to double check and be sure that it makes the original problem correct, but for time's sake, I'm not going to include that in the video. So be sure you're asking specific questions after this video is done, whether it's classmates going up and explaining it or Mr. Britz, because like I said again, the quiz, you will see these types of problems on it, as well as the naked number type problems that you've been working on as well.